Hello and welcome to week 1 of the e-course, How to Have the Willpower to Achieve All Your Goals. This course is a part of the charismaschool.com website, and as the rest of the Charisma courses, this course is also free. So you are welcome to pass them along to your friends, co-workers, family, and whoever else you want to, as long as all the files, audio, video, written materials are unchanged. This course is my second course of Charisma School, and it's a very important one since it's about the training of the will that most people have very little these days. Have you ever started a personal development program only to never finishing it, or started very enthusiastically on a new training program or diet and let it die slowly? All of this is related to the will and its training. That's why it's imperative that this is one of the first courses that you will do of the Charisma School, and so that you will have then sufficient will to go on with the next ones. The will is our intimate inner power. It has an intimate connection with the core of our being, our very self, and also enable us to decide what is to be done and applying the necessary means for realization and persisting in the task in the face of all obstacles and difficulties. It may be described as our primary inner power of consciousness that allow us to fulfill our purpose in the world. The will is that basic characteristic that will make all other personal development courses or traits succeed or fail. So it's a good idea to develop it as much as possible, as much as you can, and is also a necessity to develop it. The will is, curiously, not recognized as the central and fundamental function of the ego. In fact, it has often been depreciated as being ineffective against the various drives and the power of the imagination, or it has been considered with suspicion as leading to self-assertion, will to power. The will is ineffective only when it attempts to act in opposition to the imagination and to the other psychological function, while its skillful and consequently successful use consists in regulating and directing all the other functions towards a deliberately chosen and affirmed aim. So, if you can put all the other functions to act according to your will, it will be so much easier to achieve any given goal. It is not necessary to have an exact conception or theory of the will in order to train it, nor to discuss the phases or types or even essence of the will. The purpose of developing the will is self-evident, because the will is needed first to decide upon and then to persist in, to take the needed time and trouble in the use of any other technique. So on this course, I will follow a very practical road, only to mention the basics of the theory so that you can have some background knowledge about the will. The rest is all about practice. There is, however, a prior and more immediate purpose of the technique, that is, the will to train the will. Those people who say that they have no will do in reality have some will, for it is a direct function of the self, but a function that is largely latent or asleep. Such people have to learn to use their small capital, their modicum of will, their little small will, in order to strengthen and build it up where it becomes a valuable asset. There will be many exercises in this course, and your possible thought that you won't have time to practice them, I say that you can no more acquire the powers of the will by merely passively reading about them. Actual practice, actual exercise of the brain powers is the only method under the sun that will yield you with increased powers. There's no side effects in training the will. The more you practice it, the more it grows. So make sure you train each and every day. This is also a part of the Pillar 2 of the Charisma Foundations, the will, but this course focuses on one particular aspect of the will, which is the willpower, which this is only a part of the full will. The will and its qualities have been briefly addressed on my Magnetic Gaze course, but here they are again for those of you who haven't completed the first one. In the book The Act of Will by the Italian psychologist Roberto Assagioli, he describes some basic characteristics that are displayed by persons with a strong will. That is, the number of qualities that which are outstanding in a person with a great will, which also exist in some measure, however small, in each of us, and if necessary can be aroused from sleep to awaken. Energy, dynamic power and intensity, mastery, control and discipline, concentration, attention, one-pointedness, determination, decisiveness, resoluteness, persistence, endurance and patience, initiative, courage and daring, organization, integration, and synthesis. On a different book by Frank Haddock, he distinguished different types of will. The static will, or will in reserve, which constitutes the original source of energy, As the heat, the light, and the life are rooted in the sun, so are the varied qualities sent forth from this central seat of power, which exhibits the dynamic will, which is a will that is ever in motion. The explosive will illustrates the mind's ability for quick and masterful summoning of all its forces, the sudden rush of the whole soul in one compelling deed. The persistence of will can be the weakness of otherwise strong men and may be revealed in life's reactions. Persistence involves adherence to a purpose, cling to a goal. The mind also needs the impelling will. The impelling will suggests driving onward through calm and storm for a determined goal. It is curious too that the noble quality of willpower observed in impelling persistence depends upon the paradox of restraint, that an engine without control will destroy itself and all the connected machinery, and the finest racing speed is achieved under beaten mastery. In man, the power that drives must hold back. The supremest type of man exhibits this as a constant attitude. Success in life depends upon what the writers call the willpower of inhibition. Here we have the restraining will. The decisive will is our ability to stop our blindless following some authority or some appealing thing and to bring all action to a full stop in order to make a new decision, a new immediate or ultimate goal. Okay, so now let's start with the exercise. This first exercise will deal with the control of your body. It needs a great skill to sit quietly and comfortable, therefore it is necessary to learn how to do it. First, sit down on a chair in a way that your spine remains straight. At the beginning you can lean back on a chair, but as you move along with this exercise, try to put your spine just straight without leaning back on a chair. Hold the feet together so that they form a right angle with the knees. Sit relaxed without any strain of other muscles. Both your hands rest lightly on your thighs. Set an alarm clock to sound off after 5 minutes. Now close your eyes and watch your whole body. At first, you will notice that the muscles are becoming restless in consequence of the nervous stimulus, since you don't move any muscle. When you are doing this exercise, don't move a single muscle, don't move your eyelids, don't move anything. Sit absolutely still. Force yourself as energetically as you can to persevere to sit quietly and without movement. However easy this exercise seems to be, as a matter of fact, it is quite difficult for a beginner. If you are able to sit without moving for any special effort for 5 minutes, each new exercise is to be extended 1 minute longer. So if you have managed to sit for at least 30 minutes quietly, comfortably, and without any trouble, this exercise will be done. It is best that you do this exercise gradually, 1 minute or 2 or 3 minutes longer each time that you do it. Then you do just the whole thing in one sitting for 30 minutes and it's done. No, just grow comfortably as you become comfortable with the exercise. Just do it gradually. This exercise is an expansion of the previous one, so while on the previous exercise you take a little moment of your day to do it, this one you can do wherever you are and whatever you want. So all you have to do is be aware of your body movements during the day and watch every unnecessary movement like fidgeting of the fingers, tapping of the legs, playing with the pen and so on. For example, it's very common to see people with nervous tapping of legs or seeing someone on a coffee shop playing with a spoon just to keep their hands busy. But these movements are only an unnecessary waste of energy and should be controlled. The goal for this exercise is to observe whenever you are doing these kind of nervous movements and stop them whenever you catch yourself doing them. Okay, so here's something new. Each week I'll introduce you to 2 new will diseases. And what are will diseases? Will diseases are basically leaks or malfunctions of your will that prevent you from its optimum use. And what can you do to fix these leaks? This week, we'll talk about the fickleness of the will. I'm pretty sure that you've all met someone, or maybe you are this someone, who starts projects very enthusiastically but never finishes them. This person is always a starter and never goes far in one direction. It's like a bird flying from nest to nest but never landing. So, the will is subject to every new impulse. How do you cure this? By a cautious beginning. By not jumping into new projects without thinking very carefully and letting a few days pass, by controlling your will and not acting on your enthusiasm straight away. Your mind should learn to attend on one thing at a time, not in the sense that only a single iron should be kept in the fire, but that the iron should not be put there without due deliberation, and that once it's in, it should receive undivided attention as long as it's required by the end in view. This is not saying that you should never change plans or goals. Your plans and goals should be adjusted by the circumstances at hand. What I'm saying is that if you already have a pattern of starting things and never finishing them, or never putting the necessary effort in completing them, any reason that you might have to change plans should be counterput to a reason to stay with that project or with that goal. For example, lots of people buy a book on personal development or go to some seminar where they learn some important techniques or tools for their life, and even without implementing them or trying them for some period, they're already booking the next life-changing seminar or learning another tool. This is a tendency that you should fight against. The next wheel disease is called obstinacy. I did on purpose to put these two together, and am I crazy for doing so? First, I was saying for you don't give up on things, and now I'm telling you that the wheel disease is about giving up on things. There's a purpose for this. Some people have an excess of will, as set upon some particular act or state. This obstinacy or obsession goes against our reasoning. So, while you definitely don't want to jump from one project to another without completing anything, you also don't want definitely to pursue something that goes against our reasoning. For example, pursuing a project that's taking you to a bad road and bad prospects of life. This is a time to give up and let go. But to some people, that's very hard to their obstinacy or excess of will. So this must be fixed. Another example is those persons that always believe that they are right in everything. Their weakness is the refusal to consider other perspectives. The cure for this is to cultivate the spirit of concession, of listening to others and to admit when you are wrong. This is easily said and done because admitting and conceding sometimes to these kind of persons is one of the hardest will exercise that they can do. But if it's hard for the will, then it will bring forward great rewards. Only follow these will diseases, exercise and cures if you identify yourself in this disease. If not, then just keep them in mind and make sure that you never fall into those traps. So this first week is a light week only to introduce you to some wheel exercises. And here's a summary for this week. Do exercise 1 every day, twice a day. Make sure that each day when you are comfortable you add 1 minute to it, and exercise 2 every day each time that you catch yourself with nervous movements. Just make sure that you stop them as often as possible. As for the wheel diseases, notice if you identify yourself with either one and make the necessary steps to change it. I know, as I told you just a while back, it's easier said than done. But the whole purpose of this wheel training is to develop your awareness of what's going on inside you. And what are your behaviors, what are your reactions, and using your will to change it. Only this way, by using your will to change your behaviors, your actions, your thoughts, it's the only way to strengthen it. So good luck for the exercises and see you next week.